Olivia had always imagined a life filled with love, warmth, and stability for her and her daughter, Lily. She pictured a cozy home where laughter echoed through the halls and where each day felt like a step toward a bright future. But reality painted a far different picture. As a single mother, Olivia's days were a whirlwind of sacrifices and unrelenting hard work. Lily, only 7 years old, was Olivia's beacon of hope, the reason she got up each morning and pushed through the exhaustion. Olivia's love for her daughter was fierce and unwavering, but the challenges of raising a child alone often left her feeling like she was drowning. Her journey into motherhood had started with hope. When Olivia first discovered she was pregnant, her heart was filled with excitement. But that joy was short-lived. Nathan, the man she had trusted and loved, walked out when she needed him the most. The betrayal cut deep, and Olivia was left to pick up the pieces of her life. Still, she refused to let despair consume her. For Lily's sake, Olivia vowed to keep going, no matter how hard it got. Each day, she worked tirelessly at a small cafe in town, earning just enough to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. But deep inside, she yearned for a chance, a single opportunity to create a better future for herself and her daughter. Each day for Olivia began the same way, waking Lily, helping her get ready for school, and rushing off to her job at a small cafe. In the dim light of early morning, Olivia wrapped herself in her worn coat, holding tightly to Lily's tiny hand as they walked through the crowded streets. Lily, with her bright eyes and innocent smile, was Olivia's greatest source of strength, even as silent worries about the future weighed heavily on her. At the cafe, Olivia did everything she could, clearing tables, brewing coffee, and serving regular customers. The job didn't pay much, but she worked tirelessly with a positive attitude. Still, every evening as she returned home and looked into Lily's hopeful eyes, Olivia couldn't help but wonder if her efforts were enough to give her daughter the life she deserved. Olivia often found herself battling feelings of guilt. On her rare days off, she cherished the moments spent with Lily, but her mind was often clouded with worries about their financial struggles. Every rent bill, every pair of worn-out shoes Lily outgrew seemed to weigh heavier on her heart. Then, fate presented Olivia with a new opportunity. One afternoon, while cleaning up at the cafe, a regular customer handed her a flyer for a different job. It wasn't ideal, but it was a step forward. The position was to work as a caregiver for Gabriel West, a renowned artist who had once been celebrated but now lived reclusively following a tragic accident. Olivia hesitated, unsure if she was qualified, but the promise of better pay and the chance to improve their lives was too important to pass up. The next morning, Olivia hailed a taxi to the house where she was to begin her new job. As the car came to a halt in front of the grand gates, Olivia found herself holding her breath. Before her stood a sprawling mansion, its ivy-covered walls towering over a vast, meticulously kept garden. Everything about it radiated elegance and distance, a stark contrast to the modest world Olivia and Lily inhabited. Adjusting her worn coat, Olivia felt a pang of self-consciousness as she made her way up the long stone path toward the heavy wooden door. When the door swung open, it revealed Margaret, an older housekeeper with a stern expression. "Mr. West is in the studio upstairs," Margaret said, her tone brisk and devoid of warmth. Olivia nodded, swallowing her nerves as she stepped inside. Ascending the grand staircase, Olivia's heart raced. She had heard the stories about Gabriel West, a once renowned artist celebrated for his extraordinary talent. But since a devastating accident 2 years ago, he had vanished from the public eye, retreating into solitude. When she entered the room, Olivia saw Gabriel for the first time. He was seated near the window, sunlight casting sharp lines across his face. Gabriel was tall and broad-shouldered, but there was a hesitance in the way he carried himself. A long scar ran down the left side of his face, and his hand rested lightly on the handle of a cane. "Are you the nurse?" Gabriel's voice was deep but uncertain. Olivia took a steadying breath, willing herself to remain calm. "I'm Olivia, the agency sent me," she replied, meeting his piercing gaze without flinching. After a brief silence, Gabriel nodded. "Very well, let's get started." The first moments of Olivia's new job were marked by an almost oppressive silence. Gabriel seemed distant, and Olivia could feel the weight of his reluctance to let anyone into his guarded world. Still, she resolved to do her best, unaware that this was only the beginning of a story far greater than she could imagine. The first few days of Olivia's new job passed in heavy silence and curt exchanges. Gabriel rarely spoke unless absolutely necessary, and when he did, his words were clipped and cold. Olivia focused on her tasks, changing his bandages and ensuring he had everything he needed. But she couldn't shake the feeling that Gabriel's deepest wounds weren't the physical ones. One morning, as Olivia was getting ready for work, Lily tugged on her sleeve, begging to come along. Unable to find a last-minute sitter, Olivia reluctantly brought her daughter with her. She left Lily downstairs with Margaret, hoping the housekeeper could keep her entertained while she worked. While Olivia was tending to Gabriel's bandaged hand, a sound suddenly echoed through the mansion, a clear, innocent laugh that rang out like a bell. Olivia froze, her heart racing as she recognized the sound of Lily's laughter. Gabriel looked up, his cold expression softening just slightly. "Your daughter?" he asked, his voice quieter than usual. Olivia nodded, her heart racing. "Yes, her name is Lily. I couldn't find anyone to watch her today." She hesitated, expecting Gabriel to react with irritation or even anger. But to her surprise, his gaze lingered on the sound of Lily's laughter echoing down the hall. His eyes seemed to carry a distant memory, and for the first time there was no bitterness in his tone, only a faint curiosity. "How old is she?" Gabriel asked, his tone less harsh than usual. "She's 7, Olivia replied. After a brief hesitation, she added, "She's the reason I do everything. Everything I work for is for her." For the first time, Gabriel looked at Olivia differently, not as an employee, but as a devoted mother. In that moment, the space between them seemed to shrink, just a little. Olivia didn't know it yet, but Lily had opened the first door, leading Gabriel back toward the world he had long shut out. One afternoon, as Olivia finished tending to Gabriel's bandages, she prepared to leave the room when she noticed him standing by the window. The soft light of the setting sun streamed through the glass, casting long shadows across his face. Gabriel stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the sprawling garden below, but Olivia sensed his thoughts were far from the scene in front of him. She hesitated, unsure if she should break the silence. Over the past days, Olivia had learned that Gabriel often retreated into his solitude, but this time, the heaviness in the air felt impossible to ignore. "Mr. West?" she called softly, her voice as gentle as a whisper, afraid to disturb the fragile quiet. Gabriel turned slowly, his eyes meeting hers. For the first time, Olivia saw something different in his gaze. Vulnerability, raw and unguarded, no longer hidden behind the stoic facade he usually wore. "You don't know what it's like, do you?" he said finally, his voice low and bitter. "To have everything taken from you in an instant, to be reduced to this." He gestured vaguely at himself, his scars, his cane, the man he had become. "I was on top of the world, Olivia, and now I'm nothing." Olivia's heart ached at his words. She had heard whispers of Gabriel's accident, how it had robbed him of everything he once held dear. But hearing him speak those words aloud with such pain was something she hadn't been prepared for. "I don't know what that's like," Olivia admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But I do know what it feels like to be abandoned, to feel like you're not enough, like you're invisible." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment Gabriel simply stood there, his gaze softening. In that brief instant, he wasn't the closed-off man Olivia had met. He was a person scarred by loss, but perhaps searching for a way to heal. "I don't know if that helps," she continued, her tone quiet but resolute. "But I do know one thing. What happened to you doesn't define you. Life is still here, waiting for you, if you're willing to take it." Gabriel didn't respond immediately, but Olivia noticed a subtle shift in his expression. In his eyes there was something new, a faint glimmer of hope. Though small, it was a step forward, the beginning of a healing process that had long been overdue. In the days following their conversation, Olivia noticed a small yet undeniable change in Gabriel. The coldness in his voice seemed to have softened, and the silences between them no longer felt as heavy. He began responding to her with short, gentle remarks, and occasionally a hint of dry humor even crept into his words. One morning, as Olivia arrived for work, Gabriel surprised her by asking, "How's Lily today?" The simple question caught her off guard. He had never before shown interest in her personal life. Olivia smiled, sensing genuine curiosity in his tone. "She's doing well, thank you," she replied. "Yesterday she painted a picture of your garden. She seems to love this place." Slowly, Gabriel started to open up. Not just to Olivia, but to Lily as well. Whenever Olivia had to bring her daughter to the house, Gabriel didn't shy away. In fact, he seemed to enjoy her presence. One afternoon, as Lily sat in the living room coloring, Gabriel appeared with an old set of paintbrushes he had once used. "Try using these," he said, his tone unusually warm. As Gabriel sat beside Lily, guiding her small hands to mix colors on the palette, Olivia felt a lump rise in her throat. It was a simple moment, yet it carried profound meaning. Lily's innocent laughter and Gabriel's quiet patience created a harmony that Olivia hadn't thought possible. For the first time, she saw a spark of life return to Gabriel's eyes, a spark that reminded her of hope, healing, and the power of connection. The interactions between Gabriel and Olivia became more natural as well. He was no longer just the distant employer she had once known. He was becoming a friend, someone she could share her thoughts and worries with. Olivia felt a bond forming between them, though neither of them spoke of it aloud. Still, Olivia reminded herself of the boundaries. This was just a job, and whatever emotions were growing inside her had no place here. But with each passing day, it became harder for her to ignore the connection between them, a connection that wasn't just about Lily, but also about the shared pain and hope that tied their lives together. One afternoon, as Olivia was finishing up her tasks, Gabriel unexpectedly spoke up. "Could you stay for a moment? There's something I want to ask you." Surprised, Olivia nodded. She wasn't used to Gabriel initiating conversations, especially about something that seemed important. She followed him into the library, where the soft glow of the afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows, creating a space that felt warm yet contemplative. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day," Gabriel began, his voice measured and deliberate. "About not letting the past define us." He paused, his gaze fixed on her. "I want to try stepping outside. Maybe not to forget everything, but to remind myself that life still exists." Olivia could hear the hesitation in his words, but she also saw a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Where do you want to go?" she asked softly. "There's a small park on the outskirts of the city," he replied, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "It's a place I used to visit when I was younger. I thought it might be a good place to start. Could you bring Lily along?" Olivia's heart fluttered at his request. This wasn't the command of an employer, but the earnest invitation of a man trying to find his way back to life. She smiled warmly and said, "I think Lily would love that." The next day, they went to the park together. Lily ran ahead, her laughter ringing out as she chased butterflies and admired the birds perched on the trees. Gabriel, stepping out of the cold confines of his mansion for the first time in years, stood under the open sky, letting the sunlight touch his face as if for the first time. Olivia watched Gabriel from a distance. He was still hesitant, but he no longer seemed like the man consumed by pain and regret. When Lily tugged at his hand, asking him to play tag, Olivia couldn't help but laugh at how awkwardly Gabriel tried to keep up with her. As the sun began to set, the three of them sat on a bench, watching Lily play in the golden glow of twilight. Gabriel turned to Olivia, his expression soft and sincere. "Thank you, Olivia. You and Lily, you've given me something I thought I'd never find again." Olivia looked at him, her heart full of emotion. Though she didn't say it out loud, she knew this wasn't just a peaceful afternoon. It was the beginning of something deeper, something she wasn't quite ready to name. After the trip to the park, life for Olivia and Gabriel seemed to shift in ways neither of them had expected. Each morning, Olivia still rushed to drop Lily off at school before heading to the mansion, but her days were no longer defined by mere tasks. Her relationship with Gabriel had grown into something beyond just work. Gabriel began taking an interest in Olivia's daily life. He asked about Lily, shared stories from his past, and even offered quiet words of encouragement when Olivia worried about the future. In turn, Olivia no longer saw Gabriel as the distant, reclusive employer he once was. He had become someone she could rely on, not just in her work, but also in her own journey to rediscover hope and strength. As Olivia gathered her things, Gabriel's voice stopped her in her tracks. "Olivia," he began hesitantly, as though testing the weight of his words. "Do you think it's really possible to start over, even when everything we've known feels broken?" His gaze met hers, searching for an answer that he wasn't sure he could believe in himself. Olivia looked at him, her eyes kind but resolute. "I don't just believe in starting over," she replied. "I believe that everything we've been through, even the pain, teaches us something. Life goes on, as long as we're willing to face it." Her words brought a genuine smile to Gabriel's face, one she had never seen before. In that moment, they both realized they were no longer the broken, lonely individuals they had been when they first met. A few days later, Gabriel invited Olivia and Lily to an art exhibition, a place where he had once displayed his renowned paintings. He wanted to return to his art, not to reclaim his former glory, but to find himself again. As Olivia watched him stand before a new canvas he was painting, she saw that Gabriel wasn't just healing, he was rebuilding. Olivia, Lily, and Gabriel became an unconventional but loving family. Together, they faced life's challenges and created a new future where the past no longer weighed them down, but served as the foundation for their strength and hope.